How you doing, Tom? Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. Pleasure. Gentlemen, if I can have an equal amount on each side. And as I sort of pass it out, I'll ask you to pass it. May go away, this is just about 2 steps. You walk around the other side. She didn't want to. This side is
Adonai nashvabo, Kaplan chatzir ha'am, Yavesh chatzir nevatzi, Tudavar Eloheinu, Yakum le'olam. Chatzor tamim pa'alo picho, Derachav mishpat, Miyomalo, Matika, Ashalit ha'ka'u ha'al, Meini tumechayeh, Chatzor tamim v'chol ma'aseh, Miyomalo, Mataseh. Ati, Ata Adonai lahamid l'hechayot, Asher v'yakach miton, Kol Rucho. We begin our formal ceremony. We take a moment to participate in a ritual called Kriya, where we have a physical manifestation of our grief. And Francine, I have to imagine that there has been quite a lot of caretaking in your life for Elaine over the past 10 years at least. And one of the things that we do at this moment here, now that we have made it to this place and that Elaine has made it safely to this place, is acknowledge just how much love and care and also effort goes into taking care of someone on this journey. And we, as a community who sits with you and all of you in your mourning, also acknowledge the change in your status from caretaker and logisticator and sister and warrior and companion and all of the things that you have been for so many years to mourner. Sometimes it's hard because mourning actually doesn't have a whole lot that we have to do. We're done with all of the work of getting our loved one to this place. And so we tear as a symbol of your changing status. We tear because death hurts, right? And it helps to do something physical and to ruin something a little bit. And we tear because this is a rip in the fabric of your family. And yesterday you told me, you didn't always know the difference between Elaine and other adults and parents in your life when you were super little. She was a lot older than you, and she was in charge a lot. You've never lived in a world without her. And so we tear to acknowledge how different your world must be now, and that your family, your life looks so different. So I'm going to have you repeat after me these words. We say, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem, Adonai Nevorach. That means God gives and God takes away, and blessed is the name of God. And so for a heart that is torn, we perform this act of Kriya. You can go ahead and give your ribbon a little tear. And say Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed is God, the source of truth. And so with that, we begin our ceremony. I know most of you, but for those I don't, I'm Rabbi Emily Hyatt, and it is my very sad honor to be with you today to say goodbye to Elaine Rose Kaplan. I got to learn so much about her last night, and sometimes those are moments that are full of deep grief and sadness and tears, and last night was certainly one where I know she will be missed, but there was so much laughter in the telling of the story of Elaine, and I think that that is probably pretty appropriate. I don't think, from what I know, that she would have wanted anything else other than a whole lot of laughter. And today is filled with less laughter, because that's what happens when we say goodbye. No matter how full of joy our loved ones were, it is really sad to say goodbye. And so there's three things that we have to do today. The first thing we do is prepare ourselves for the work of saying goodbye and allowing Elaine to rest. The second thing that we do is tell the story of her life. And then we do the physical act of burying and of making sure that she is at peace and at rest here in this place. And so we begin with words of our tradition. And I want to share with you, Elaine lived in a lot of places in her life. And she didn't actually move to Denver until much later. And yet, this is where she will lay and where she will rest. And we hope that this is a place that brings comfort and brought comfort to her, being surrounded by family towards the end of her life. And so it always feels appropriate to start with words of Psalm 121, which for us at the foot of mountains, I think sort of orients us, because this is the psalm that says in English, a song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, and your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian and your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm, guard your life, guard your going and your coming, now and forever. Shir lema'alot esa enai al harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha al yanum shamrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shamrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha, yomam hashemesh lo yakeka. V'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeitecha uvoecha. Me'ata ve'ad olam. And we turn now to Psalm 23, which is a psalm that we recite. I'm going to steal one of them. It's just making me. I'll have some up here too. Psalm 23 is a psalm that we recite at funerals of so many different faiths and religions. It is so important in this moment. And there's a lot of different pieces of it that stick out to me at different times. But there's one, and it's the one, right, as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. And one of the pieces of this psalm that we sometimes take apart is the part that talks about how we walk in the valley of the shadow of death. And that idea of a shadow is such a relevant, idea in this moment where it's such a weird Colorado day when we don't have any sunshine. There's like 3 of them all year. And to be here together on a day when there is no sunshine, there is most certainly a shadow. It's darker today. The light is different and it looks different and it feels different, and we feel less warm and less comforted than we do when we feel all of that light. And I think Elaine was a person who brought a whole lot of light with her love and her generosity and her joy in life, her laughter. And so today is a day of shadow. We are shadowed by her death, but we walk through that valley. It's not a valley that we get to stay in forever. And I think tomorrow will also be a little shadowed, but also meteorological sources say that by Sunday we get a lot of sun. And we know that that is both true for the sky in Colorado and true for what it means to lose someone, that their light, if we let it, comes back and lives with us and sits with us, and we don't sit in that shadow forever. We take their light and let it help us to carry on their legacy. Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar bino teshayar bitzeni. Amei menuchot yanahaleini, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'magalei tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet, lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai sholcha neged surai. Dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. God, you lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. And even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. And so we turn now to the task of telling the story of Elaine's life. It is a story that we can't tell until we know how it ends, which now we do. And as I was learning about Elaine last night, one of the things that I learned was her Hebrew name, which is Esther Riva, Bat Abraham Moshe, Chaya Sarah. And Chaya Sarah is Chaye Sarah. Her mother was named, just like the Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, which talks about the life of Sarah. And I just kept thinking about that as I was thinking about her story. And one of the craziest parts of that particular Torah portion, it's like such a nerdy rabbi thing to say, the craziest part about the Torah portion is that Chaye Sarah is named the life of Sarah. And yet it says almost no words about the life of Sarah, because Sarah, it begins with the words, and the life of Sarah was 127 years. These were the years of her life. She died in Kiryat Arba. And that's how that Torah portion begins. It's with her death. And so often, right, that's how I meet people, right? I learn all about their life when they die. And that's how we have the opportunity to think about Elaine today. It is, right, our job to look back and look at the life of Elaine, but we start in the moment of her passing. And what's so interesting about what happens after that one line, where we talk about the end of her life, is that then we meet all those who come after her, right? The lines and the lineages and the generations that come after Sarah, and it's from them and how they live that we actually get to learn about her life, and her legacy becomes clear through the people that she loved and the generations that come after her. And it's in exactly the same way, I think, today that we get to understand that the legacy of
Elaine will unfold just like that. There are parts of her story that we get to think about and lift up today, having just lost her. But the true power of her legacy will unfold only as we see the stories of those who knew her and loved her continue to unfold in the years to come. And so we start all the way back at the beginning. Elaine was born in Nashville, Tennessee on August 21st, 1936 to Abe and Ada Kaplan. And she spent her childhood in Tennessee, in a small town. She completed her bachelor's degree eventually, and I'll tell you that story in a second, at the University of Texas in Austin. She was a member of the Sigma Delta Tau sorority. She lived in a lot of places, in Dallas, in New York, in Nashville, in Baton Rouge, and then eventually she moved to Denver about 5 years ago with Francine. And here are the pieces of her legacy that I really learned about. Number one, she was fearless. And sometimes we combine the ideas of fearlessness and courage. And I'm not sure that her story is really about courage, because I don't think that, right, courage is about doing it anyway, even when you feel afraid. And I don't think Elaine felt afraid. She was, from the very beginning, almost a little adult. She took care of Francine when she was young. They were 10 years apart. But Francine, when they were kids, when she was a kid, was always just a little bit intimidated by Elaine, because Elaine wasn't intimidated by anyone, adults included. She wasn't afraid to break rules. She wasn't afraid to do what she thought was right or what she wanted. She went through life feeling like she had the authority to make those choices from the very beginning. She was strong and fearless. She was a strong feminist. I learned that at some point she decided she wasn't going to see any more male doctors. Not because they weren't competent, but because women could do it and she could support them by having women do those things, which I think is such a statement. She was smart in her fearlessness. So she wasn't irresponsible. She made, I think, fairly, if not good, I didn't hear any bad choices, but if not good choices, she made really informed choices. They all had purpose behind them. I think she was good at foreign languages. And Francine, you said she was good at foreign languages and she was not afraid to speak them. I'm guessing she was also good at foreign languages because she wasn't afraid to speak them, right? It's our discomfort and fear that makes us sometimes hesitate to get in there and just do it, which is not a thing that I think she would have done. She would learn a few phrases and then she would go and use them. And if you took her to another country or went with it to another country, or she would talk to everyone, to tour guides, to people on the street, to people in stores, she would have no fear. And Elaine and Francine did a lot of traveling together when they were young adults. And Elaine always led the way because Francine wasn't quite as fearless, even though the whole family is made up of extroverts. They went to Egypt, they went to Greece, they would wait until Shayna and Ari were at camp and then go find a foreign country, go there, try it out, see what would happen. And Elaine traveled also with Julius, with their brother throughout Europe. And he was right in the middle. Elaine was 5 years older than him. And they, when they would travel, would find opera and art and culture to experience in Italy and in France. They were great traveling companions. I think that in addition to her fearlessness, Elaine was also full of joy. She was the life of every party, the most fun person to be around. She would always find a joke, tell a joke, loved to laugh, even when it was not 100% sure if things were funny. She would laugh at everything and anyone, which I understand Jordan really thrived environment. She thought he was so funny and that the kids were so funny. And that craziness and the chaos of being around them and leaning into their senses of humor was just so fun. She used to torture Lev by pretending to sit on him and not noticing that he was there on the couch. She'd offer him a knuckle sandwich. She was not afraid to be silly with him. But she was also there for those kids in moments when they needed a little help. Also, there was a story about her taking a trash bag when Lev had to clean his room and helping him do it. And Lev said she was so much fun to visit. When they would go and find her, she was always ready to do something, to buy something, to do puzzles, to play cards, to teach them how to do crosswords. She was always in the middle of a mystery novel, reading a book. And she was always down when she was, when they were traveling still, to find something exciting and fun to do. Opera festivals in Santa Fe, card competitions on a vacation. She was full of laughter. She was also full of generosity, perhaps to a fault. She was really, really helpful. In addition to helping Lev clean his room, she would help any family or any stranger. She helped Shayna and Jordan move. She helped when they had little kids. She took care of her own mother when she suffered from dementia before that happened to Elaine. And after their mother passed away, after Elaine's mother passed away, she moved to Baton Rouge so that she could be near family and contribute. She never wanted to just sit around. And even after Elaine herself had significant dementia and was living in Denver, Shayna would bring her to the school and find jobs for her to do, little tasks, because she needed, not just wanted, but needed to be a part of things and to contribute. She wanted to help in every space that she was in. And it's a testament, not just to her, but to the people who loved her, that they would always find things for her to do, knowing that as her dementia got worse, it probably would be just as much work for you as it would be for her to help. And yet knowing that that was something, I think, that was such a deep part of her, to be a member of society and a family and to contribute, was really important. I heard two stories about this. Number one, she went to Romania twice when she was living in Nashville to help in orphanages. And I understand that the woman at the JCC in Nashville who was organizing this actually ended up adopting one of those orphans. And Elaine went on that journey. Sort of amazing to imagine taking, being a part of something like that depth of giving. And another story from her childhood, when they were little, when Elaine and Julius and Francine were little, their dad owned a store, like almost like Ace Hardware, where they have like parts and auto parts and things like that, but also just like Ace Hardware does now, like a weird toy section where you can find all kinds of things that are not hardware. And all the kids used to work in the store. And one time a lady called really late at night, like after midnight, because she had a present. It was a holiday season, and she had a present on layaway for her son, and her husband had taken and spent all of the money from his paycheck. And the woman was devastated because she didn't know how she was going to pay for this gift that she wanted to give to her son at the holidays. And so Elaine was the ringleader of this, and she and Julius went and took the keys to the store out of their dad's pants and went down, the street to the store and opened it up and gave this woman the present that she had on layaway for her son. And I understand that not just did they go out in the middle of the night to do this, but that if Elaine had had her way, they probably wouldn't have accepted any money ever for this present. That kind of generosity of not just things, but also of spirit. I learned that Elaine was incredibly independent and determined. She took care of her business her whole life. She bought stock. She lived by herself in New York. She didn't look back when she made choices. She found an apartment and lived on her own in all kinds of different places. She was, when in New York, the only woman in her business selling junior dresses. And all the men felt like they had to take care of her because she was this little petite Southern woman, and she did not need any help from them. But she used it to her advantage because she wasn't an idiot, and managed to let them help in ways that probably advantaged both of them. But this story that Francine told me that impressed her the most was about that independence, but also the determination, which is that when she went to college the first time, she learned things, but she also really loved college and loved the college scene and loved her sorority and loved to party and hang out and be with people and socialize. And when she left college the first time, she hadn't quite graduated. And it wasn't until more than a decade later that she decided that she really needed to graduate, that mattered to her. And part of the reason why it was hard for her to graduate is because she didn't like math, which I identify with. And so she worked it out that she would take 2 Greek classes instead of a math class, which I don't think they would do today, but whatever. And she really dug in to that. Getting her degree felt really important, and she worked really hard to learn Greek that year so that she could take the test and so that she could pass and so that she could get her degree. And it says something about her determination and her need to accomplish or to finish that piece of her life. And then finally, I learned about her deep love of her family. And not just her love of her family, but that she was the best supporter, that she was the ultimate cheerleader. That even though when they were young, 5 years apart, all of them, you know, she and her siblings had sibling stuff, but they got closer as they got older. And it mattered to her. She was always near family. She was opening and welcoming. She was so open and welcoming of Francine's family that she built, of Shayna and Ari, of Jordan, of Shayna and Jordan's kids. And I heard stories of Isaiah going to sleep over at her house and getting to do all of the things that he probably didn't get to do at home, like waking up at the crack of dawn and going to the bakery and eating a lot of donuts. Avi said she would spoil them and really embrace them, and that she felt like a bonus grandma. She made Francine feel like Martha Stewart every time she cooked anything, would rave about it, was her biggest cheerleader. And Ari remembers a time when he was coaching at LSU and they were playing at Vanderbilt in Nashville, and she took him out to eat, and then came and sat right behind him during the game, watching him and supporting him. That she would always watch games on TV just to get a glimpse of him. She was Shayna's biggest fan and ultimate supporter, and was always on her side. And when Shayna had a bad day, would give her all of the good advice in the world, or not good advice, but advice that really made you feel like she had your back and like there was nobody that could be right if you were wronged. And so this is the lesson of that Torah portion of Chaye Sarah, that even though today is a day when we're thinking about Elaine's death, it's really a day when we get to think about her life, about her legacy, about how many of the pieces of who she was will live on in all of you as we find those pieces story by story and memory by memory. And so I learned from her that you don't sacrifice independence when you stick with your family. You can do both. That there's always a reason to laugh. That everyone can lend a hand always, regardless of where you are in your life, and that there are no strangers. And if you walk through life like that, you do a whole lot of good. And so it's with all of those pieces in our minds that we turn now to our last duty today. We get to say goodbye to Elaine and be grateful for all of those pieces of her that she gave to us through her life. Adonai Natan Adonai Lakafi Shem Adonai Mavarah Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Yatzar Etzem B'Tuvo V'Heitzem B'Batim V'Natah B'Tochatam Chayei Olam Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan HaEmet. We take a moment now before we can move forward and conclude our service to engage in one of our most beautiful rituals in Jewish tradition, that is helping to fill the grave of our loved one. And this is always a part that feels extra hard and extra important, and especially knowing a legacy of love and generosity and giving and welcoming and caring. Even more so today, we give that back to Elaine in a moment where we don't do it for recognition or so that she knows she can't say thank you. We do it because we want to do that for her. And so I'm gonna invite Francine and your family first to come up to participate in filling this grave with earth, and then I'll invite all of you after to participate in this ritual. If anyone else, you're going to come on this side and maybe the guys going on that side so that we can say a little more.
Well, I was going to say, well, she just punched it. She
We're going to conclude our service. We rise as we are able for our memorial prayer. El Mali Rachamim Shochin Bamrami Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Telchot Kanfei Hashmina Im Kedoshim Utehorim Hazohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Esteri Babat Abraham Moshe B'chai Sarah Shehalacha Yolamah Bala Rachamim Yavstireha Leseter Knafav Leolamim Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hunachalata V'tanyach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. And for the first time, we have the opportunity to say the words of the mourner's Kaddish for Elaine. We can't do that until we have moved into this next phase of mourning, knowing that she has been laid to rest, that she is here, and here she will lay. And so we say these words, and we not only say them, but we support her loved ones. We support Francine in the recitation of the mourner's Kaddish, knowing that she needs us to make it through this time, to be supported, to be surrounded by love, and to be able to say these words of mourning. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'le'amei almayo. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'mrama v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God who makes peace on high make peace for us and for all of Israel. And we say together, amen. We say our concluding words. Adonai. Go your way, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. And as we conclude, everyone is invited to Shayna's home for visitation and for being with the family. She's at 7489 East Byers Avenue. And we say concluding words of comfort to each of you and to you, Francine, may you be comforted amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We know that you are not the first to mourn and you will not be the last, because we know that one of the things that helps the most is that we're with you, that you're not alone. Stand with you and to carry this legacy on with you. And so that